Honest and fearless. Here's everything you need to know this rush hour of December 20, Friday. I'm Riza Diaz. Kickstarting today's rush with the historic decision on the decade-long Maguindanao massacre case. Quezon City Regional Trial Court Justice Jocelyn Solis Reyes found 43 people guilty beyond reasonable doubt, 28 of which are the principal suspects, including some members of the Ampatuan clan. They're sentenced to reclusion perpetua or 40 years in prison without parole. 15 others, mostly policemen, were also found guilty as accessories to the crime, while 55 people, including 4 Ampatuans, were acquitted. Still, legal counsels for the victims consider the verdict a big win.
Ito po'y malaking tagumpay para sa mga biktima. Ito po'y katarungan, bagamat napakatagal na proseso ang dinaanan bago makarating sa puntong ito.
Georgian Malabanan, who is the daughter of one of the 32 journalists killed, was thankful despite the decade-long delay. She says justice has finally been served.
Ma, ito na yun. Ito na yung hustisya na matagal na nating hinihintay. Ito na yung mga sakripisyo ko na ilang taon na pinaglalaban namin.
Maguindanao Representative Toto Dato also welcomed the partial ruling but says the fight is still not over for them. He expects the camp of the convicted will exhaust all legal remedies to appeal the verdict.
Hindi ito katapusan ng battle namin. May mga apila pang gagawin yan eh. Expected namin yan. Pero kung magkaroon man ng final conviction, kumbaga, dapat sa panahon na yan, may bitay na.
Now, despite the guilty verdict, suspect turned state witness Sukarno Badal believes that the Ampatuans deserved death penalty. Marlene Alcaide tells us why.
A trusted man of the Ampatuans, former Vice Mayor Sukarno Badal, testified against Andal Unsay and Zaldi Ampatuan in the Maguindanao massacre case. And with a guilty verdict handed down on his ex-bosses, he can now breathe a sigh of relief.
Hindi ko pinagsisihan yan. Bakit ko pagsisihan? Na nakatulong ako sa maraming tao.
Present from when Ampatuan conceptualized the killing to the actual murder, Badal said relatives of the Ampatuan shouldn't have been acquitted.
Mayroon din gaya nila sa JIT na hindi siya kasali sa conviction. Hindi rin dapat kasali yan siya. Kaya lahat ng meeting nandun yan siya. Kabaong lahat ng meeting nandun yan. Yung mga escort ng pulis, yung mga mababalang ang rangko, hindi mo mamasabi na may kasalanan yan. Escort lang yan sila.
He said he respects the court's decision, but if the circumstances were different, the punishment should have been worse.
Kaya wala mang death penalty. Kung meron lang, yun sana. Pero ngayon, wala man sana matagal siya mamatay doon para pagdusa niya yung ginagawa niya.
With threats and even some relatives killed after turning his back against the Ampatuans, he hopes the government would help him start anew.
Sana kung mag-usap lang kami ni Secretary Guevara, sabihin ko rin tanungin ko siya kung ano ang gaya ko na witness, ano bang matulong ng gobyerno sa akin.
For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
30 minutes after being found guilty for 57 counts of murder, the Ampatuans and the rest of the suspects found themselves at the maximum security compound of the new Bilibid prison where they will spend the next 40 years of their lives. Justin Punsalang reports.
Andal Ampatuan Jr. waved from inside an ambulance as it entered the maximum security compound of the new Bilibid prison at past 2 o'clock. The ambulance, together with 2 BJMP buses, was part of the heavily escorted convoy bearing all the convicts in the Maguindanao massacre. For added security, a chopper hovered overhead. Bucor Chief Director General Gerald Bantag assured the public that they can handle the new arrivals. But he was careful not to divulge which building in the maximum security compound they are going to be incarcerated. The NBP tightened security, suspending visits and deliveries for the day. Bantag said he has yet to decide if he will reshuffle personnel.
Di bantayan natin kung paano papasok yung pera. Alert lang sila, dapat alerto palagi. Tapos trabaho lang, walang personalan.
Meanwhile, those acquitted who had already served their sentences won't be released just yet. The BJMP said they still need to undergo verification, clearance, and physical exam.
We also have to check, no? Kasi baka meron doon sa mga na-acquit sa kaso na ito na meron palang nakapending na ibang kaso sa ibang korte, so kailangan din nating humingi ng clearance.
For News 5, Justine Punsalang, we are One News.
The Quezon City RTC acquits majority of the accused in the Maguindanao massacre case, including some members of the Ampatuan clan. While for the family of one of the victims, justice remains elusive. Ria Fernandez has the story.
Families of the victims rejoice over the guilty verdict handed to the principal accused of the Maguindanao massacre. But inside the courtroom, the defense had victories of their own, erupting in cheers for those acquitted. The lawyer of the accused, Dato Ahmad Ampatuan, rose to his seat upon hearing his client's name. Others cheered for Dato Sajid Islam Ampatuan, who was also cleared of murder charges and already out on bail. A total of 55 accused were found not guilty, including 4 members of the Ampatuan clan. Many police officers were also found not guilty, particularly those from the Labayan and the Solano groups. The court said the prosecution failed to establish the involvement of these people in the Maguindanao massacre.
The jail warden of Quezon City Jail Annex is hereby ordered to immediately release the aforementioned accused unless they are being detained for some other lawful cause or causes.
My client was vindicated. Justice was done. Justice was done.
But for one victim and his family, justice remains elusive. The case of the 58th victim of the Maguindanao massacre, photojournalist Reynaldo Momay, was dismissed by the court due to reasonable doubt. Momay's body was never found. The victim's daughter, Reyna Fe Castillo, told News 5 that they wanted justice, not indemnity, for their father. Reyna Fe stressed her father is a victim and was also brutally killed. Pieces of evidence were presented to court to prove that Momay was among those killed.
Nahanap ang pustiso ni Mr. Momay, confirmed na sumama sa coverage, nawala hanggang ngayon.
The victim's lawyer, Attorney Harry Roque, said they plan to use this to appeal Momay's civil case against the Ampatuans. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, we are One News.
Malacanang welcomes and respects the decision by Judge Solis Reyes on the decade-long massacre case. In a statement, Palace spokesman Sal Panelo commended all officials who worked in putting to an end what he says a dark chapter in recent Philippine history. Panelo called the killing of more than 50 individuals in Maguindanao a savage affront to human rights that should never be repeated. Panelo once served as a defense lawyer for Andal Ampatuan Jr. Now, moving forward, Palace says the government is still hard at work in ensuring protection for media workers as well as in preventing acts of violence from being repeated. Meanwhile, there is still more to be done on the part of the state prosecutors. They say the camp of the Ampatuans may still appeal the guilty verdict. The prosecution says they have 60 days to study whether to raise the case to the Court of Appeals to overturn the acquittal of some of the suspects.
Given a little more time to go over the decision itself and see the rationale of the court and how it came up with its finding acquitting certain accused, then we will be able to say, okay, probably we can take action. Because like I said, if there's anybody who knows the evidence in the case, it would be the panel members, and they would know if they had presented more than enough.
Justice Secretary Minardo Guevara, in general, is happy with the court's decision, noting that an acquittal for some of the suspects was already expected. Guevara says the department trusts the impartiality of Judge Solis Reyes in the historic case.
We know from the beginning where our strength lies and where certain gaps in our evidence exist. So this is something that we more or less expected.
Now, here are the biggest stories from the dailies. The Quezon City Police District assured that the security of Justice Jocelyn Solis Reyes will be their top priority. This after Reyes served the guilty verdict to the Ampatuan family for killing the 57 victims of the Maguindanao massacre. QCPD Regional Director Ronnie Montejo told Pangmasa that they have tripled the bodyguards of the judge a week before the promulgation. However, he clarified that they have not received any threats to the judge's life. Filipino Star ngayon reports that the administration is open to the possibility of Duterte for 2022. Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo explained that this is not illegal since the Constitution only forbids the re-election of a president. This came after the results of a survey showing that a majority of Filipinos in Visayas and Mindanao would vote for Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte for president and current President Rodrigo Duterte as vice president in the 2022 elections. And this from the Philippine Star. U.S. President Donald Trump was impeached for abuse of power in a historic vote in the U.S. House of Representatives yesterday. Trump thus became the third occupant of the White House in American history to be impeached. But this doesn't mean that Trump will automatically be removed from office. He now stands trial in the Senate, a stronghold of the Republicans who are expected to vindicate him. Now let's fast break the sports rush. TNT inches closer to the PBA Governors Cup Finals, stunning Meralco in Game 3 of their semifinal series. It was a slow start for Katropa, who trailed the Bolts 42-29 in the first half. But Jason Castro and KJ McDaniel stepped up in the third frame, outscoring Meralco 35-20. But it was Troy Rosario who delivered big time with 3-pointers that broke a 91-all game, which TNT lead on to take the win 101-97. The Katropa will try to close out the series in Game 4 on Saturday, while Meralco attempts to even out the series one more time.
Ayaw talaga namin mag-start ng gaya ng Game 2. Pangit nung start namin. So talagang practice kahapon, talagang pinagandaan namin kung anong opensa yung gagamitin namin ngayon, tsaka yung depensa namin. Lalong-lalo na yung rebounding. Kasi talagang pag na-dominate namin yung rebounding, talagang mananalo kami.
And that's how today is shaping up to be. Join us again next time for another round of Rush. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.